So I have a pleasant task of introducing Dr. Gaya Jayakody as the first presidential address of this 81st annual sessions of the SLAAS. I have a kind of brief introduction, but before that, I just want to say a few things about her. She has been an active member of SLAAS. She guided the committee for the popularization of science last year, the year before, and then she did a marvelous work in that activity as well, and also as the chairperson of section E1, that is physics. And she did a lot of work during this year that I don't have a summary to say, and also if I had a summary, I need another presidential address time to do that, right? So I will formally introduce Dr. Gaya Jayakody to this first presidential address. Dr. Gaya Jayakody, a physicist turned a mathematics educationist, received her Bachelor of Science BSc degree in physics in 2002 with the first class from the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, Sri Lanka. Her MSc in mathematics education in 2010 from University of Colombo, and her PhD in mathematics education in 2015 from Simon Fraser University, Canada, under the supervision of Professor Reena Rasky. While in Canada, she was the recipient of President's PhD scholarship in 2013 and the recipient of the Graduate Student Research Award in 2014. She currently serves as a senior lecturer and the head of the department of the Science for Technology Department at the Faculty of Technology, University of Sri Jayawardenepura. As one of the few in Sri Lanka to hold a PhD in this emerging field, Dr. Jayakody is committed to transforming mathematics education in the country. Since 2017, she has been an ambassador representing Sri Lanka for the Global Math Project. In 2022, she co-founded MetaHub, a web-based platform for mathematics teachers in Sri Lanka, alongside esteemed mathematician Dr. Shelton Pereira. He is also there. This initiative, developed in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, aims to bridge the gap between the field of mathematics, education, and teachers across the nation. Through MetaHub, Dr. Jayakody leads teacher enrichment programs, workshops, and various other events for both teachers and students, striving to change the culture of mathematics classrooms in Sri Lanka. So without taking much time, this is your time, Dr. Gaya Jayakody.
Thank you very much. Thank you, dear Professor Udeni, for that very kind introduction, and a very good morning to all of you. So I would start with the General President of SLAAS 2025, Professor Udeni Navagamur, respected council members of SLAAS, my dear Ruchira Madam, past General President of SLAAS, thank you for being here. Father Ramanayaka, Director of Subodhi Institute of Integral Studies, and Father Merrill, thank you very much for being here. B.H. Sudhanta Sir, Dean of the Faculty of Information Technology, University of Moratuwa, my dear fellow members of Section E1 from SLAAS, all other friends and colleagues from SLAAS, members from the Science for Technology Department of my faculty, my students, my dearest and closest friends, and dear family members. Thank you all for being here this morning. It's truly encouraging to see all of your faces. So today, I will be sharing with you about rethinking how we learn mathematics in the context of my own journey in the field of mathematics education. So let me start with a shared memory, something that we can all relate to. I would like to ask a question from the audience. You take a few seconds to think about what comes to your mind when you see this question. What do you remember most about learning mathematics in school? Because I know there are mathematics lecturers here, mathematicians here. I'm talking about your school experience in learning mathematics. What comes to your mind? Now, for some of you, it might be the thrill of finally solving a tough mathematical problem, or something along the same lines, the satisfaction of finally understanding a difficult mathematical concept. Or you might remember a great teacher who taught you, that inspired you, who made you fall in love with mathematics. On the other hand, there could be some of you, what comes to your mind may be the frustration or the difficulty in having to memorize formulas, or the relief that you felt on the last day of your mathematics exam and feeling that you felt, I will never sit for a math exam again. Or maybe a terrifying teacher. Okay, so whatever your memory is, I'm sure it's a lasting one. And that is because mathematics is not just another subject. It's a gatekeeper. It's often the subject that divides students into I can and I can't. It's a subject that affects who chooses science, who selects arts or commerce, or sometimes who even dares to dream. So I want to talk about mathematics education. Not mathematics itself, but the science of how mathematics is taught, how it is learned, and how teaching and learning mathematics can be transformed. So what is mathematics education? What is this field? Let me put it this way. If mathematicians ask what is true, mathematics educationists ask, how do people come to know what is true? So mathematics education is a discipline, it's a research field that looks into questions such as, why do students struggle with certain concepts, like fractions? Or how does a learner come to learn a mathematical concept, like infinity? Those types of research fall into learning and cognition. Or how can technology such as GeoGebra or Desmos maybe help improve how students reason about a certain area in mathematics? That type of research look into how technology affects mathematics learning. Or very importantly, mathematics educationists look into the type of special knowledge that mathematics teachers should have in addition to knowing the mathematics that they teach in order to become a successful teacher. This type of research looks into the pedagogy, that is the methodology of teaching mathematics. So globally, mathematics education is an established field, recognized field. It has its own conferences, its own journals, and its own doctoral programs. But in Sri Lanka, mathematics education as a field is still in its infancy. We do have brilliant mathematicians, some of whom are present here in the audience, like Shelton Sir. And also we have great mathematics teachers, mathematics lecturers, also among us today. But what we don't have, or what we lack in Sri Lanka, are people interested in education of mathematics, who are interested in doing research or looking into how mathematics knowledge develops in our classrooms, or how we can investigate how mathematics learning can be improved in a meaningful way. Before I go to the next slide, I will quickly show something that the top left, is the International Conference of Mathematics Education, the largest mathematics education conference in the world that happened. This is last picture from last year, and that is Professor Rina Zaskis, my PhD supervisor. And at the bottom is a Q2 journal in mathematics education for the learning of mathematics, an issue from last year, 2024, and the graph that you see featuring on the cover page is a graph from a paper that Shelton Sir and I published that year. And this is the Simon Fraser University alumni page, and you might see my face in a little box right over there. So, the way you learn mathematics, the way you have learned mathematics, in the way you have learned mathematics, you all must have a certain way of thinking about math. You might be thinking of math as this, just like in other subjects, as this body of knowledge that you need to acquire, that at some point in your life, in your personal or professional life, you will have a chance to apply. This is what people think what mathematics is, a body of knowledge to be acquired. But the true nature of mathematics is that as much as it is a body of knowledge, it also has to do with training your mind to think like a mathematician. Learning of mathematics has to involve going through the thinking process of the development of concepts, looking at structures, looking at patterns, and so on. In short, learning math has to involve logical, deductive thinking. And for this, we need to understand mathematics. And mathematics educationists put a great emphasis on understanding mathematics. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why does understanding matter? I know you all are thinking, of course we should understand math. What else we do with it? And you might be thinking, we do understand mathematics. But a great mathematics educationist and a psychologist by the name Richard Skemp, about 50 years ago, argued that what you mean by understanding, especially in the context of math, might not be really understanding. Richard Skemp was a mathematician who later studied psychology, a pioneer in mathematics education who brought in integrated math, education, and psychology. And he says, you may think you understand, but you don't. Let me explain. Skemp talks about something called, let me see whether I can pronounce this right, faux amis. It's a French word. Faux amis is a pair of words that are the same or sound alike in two different languages that have two different meanings. Some examples are there. For example, the word, I might be pronouncing this wrong, histoire in French, very close to history, does not mean history, it means story. The word librairie in French does not mean library, it means bookshop. The word chef in French is not only chief of cook, but also any head of any organization. So you have a long list. Skemp says, in the context of mathematics, there is a word that is a faux ami, that is understanding. He says that different people, when they say understand, they mean different things. And he says that this is the root of many difficulties that we have in mathematics education today. So what are these two meanings? Now each one of you have one of these meanings when you say, I understand my math. Skemp gives two names for these two so that we can differentiate between them. He says that many people, when they say, especially students and teachers of math, when they say they understand, they mean procedural understanding. Procedural understanding means you know how to do it, you know how to solve the problem, you can work out the mathematics problem that you have. You know the rules, you know the formulas, you know the algorithm to apply, and you can get the answer. But there is another type of understanding that we often miss out on. He calls it conceptual understanding. Conceptual understanding is not only you know how to work out a problem, but you also know what is happening in that algorithm. You can explain. You know the concepts behind the method that you are using. Now, for procedural understanding, or we can say procedural learning or procedural knowledge, memorization is needed. A lot of memory is needed. Very little cognitive effort is needed. If a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, procedural understanding sits at the bottom of Bloom's taxonomy. At the same time, I want to touch upon very briefly on something about teaching techniques, because a lot of you are here are familiar with modern techniques of teaching. We talk about, let me throw in some words here. You know all of this. I will just read these out. There is inquiry-based learning. These are modern techniques of learning. These can be applied to any subject, not just math. We have inquiry-based learning. We have project-based learning. we have blended learning, we have authentic learning, and so on. But the point is, this is something that I often say to teachers. No matter what modern teaching technique that you used to teach, you will still not be teaching for understanding unless you have understood concepts conceptually yourself and know the techniques of conceptual teaching. So let me give you a few examples from mathematics to properly understand the difference between procedural and conceptual. I'm taking examples from school mathematics, something that you all have seen and you all know. Here's a famous rule: negative times negative is positive. If I give you two negative numbers, you know what the answer is. But how many of you know why negative times negative is positive? I want you to think back to your school memories and think, did your teachers ever talk about it? Did you ever question? Did you ever think about why negative times negative is positive? Fortunately, currently in our textbooks, some explanation is there. But in our time, our experience is that it's a rule, you remember it. So it was very arbitrary, almost magic sort of thing. Here's another example. I'm taking again content from school mathematics. The four operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. If you don't have a calculator, if I give two numbers to add or subtract, this is what you would do. You would write one below the other, and you would follow an algorithm. And for the first three operations, you would go from right to left. But if you want to divide two numbers, you would follow the long division algorithm, and you would go from left to right. Do you know why? Can we change the order? Can we add from left to right? Can we divide from right to left? Did you ever think why we do so? If you don't have a conceptual understanding of these operations and what goes on in these algorithms, you wouldn't know whether even you can do it the other way around. Here's another place where you see this left to right thing. In Botmas, one begudari, the order of operations. There we are told that if you have, for example, multiplication and division together, to go left to right. Can we change that? Again, if you know this conceptually, you would know whether we can do it or not. So for one on the right, you can't, it's a convention, but for one on the left, you can change the order. I mean the direction in which you do it if you want, if you know what's going on in that procedure. So, now when I talk about these two like this, you might feel like what I'm saying is that we don't need procedural understanding, what we need is conceptual understanding. No, that's not what I'm saying. We need both types. Both are important. Here's how they are connected. They are kind of complementary. We need both of them to see the big picture, the full picture of the math that we learn. Procedural knowledge helps students to execute a task, while conceptual knowledge helps them to see or make sense of what they're doing. And they are interconnected. The development of one helps the development of the other. Procedures give speed and accuracy, concepts give meaning and the ability to transfer your knowledge to a new context. Here's what's important. We have an unequal attention to these two in our classrooms. Research suggests that teachers often emphasize on procedural knowledge over conceptual knowledge. You can reflect on your own learning in school, potentially hindering students' ability to think critically and engage with subject knowledge meaningfully. This imbalance can lead students to perform calculations correctly, but without truly understanding the underlying ideas, and that limits their ability to reason and to transfer their knowledge, what they have learned, to a new context. So, I think I mentioned that mathematics education is in its infancy in Sri Lanka. Then how did I step into it? So I will give a glimpse of how I became interested in this field. So as a young physics undergraduate, as Professor Udeni described me at the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, I was once asked to tutor a 15-year-old boy. Professor Tantrigoda was the one who brought him to me. He was having a memory problem due to some medication that he was taking due to an illness. So his mother wanted me to just tutor him, just to get the bare minimum and just get him to pass the exam, both in physics and math. I had no experience, I had no grand plan, but I was patient and I tutored him. And something worked very slowly. And to everyone's surprise, he passed with a B in physics and a C in mathematics. And for the first time in my life, that experience revealed something that would grow into a defining strength in my career as an educator later. With the first class in physics, no, not right now. Despite my love for physics, I didn't feel like pursuing higher studies in physics, despite the advice from my lecturers. So 8 years followed as a secondary mathematics and physics teacher. I thought I was a good teacher until I heard this field called mathematics education. Then came the turning point. So it was the time when the University of Colombo started the first ever mathematics master MSc program in mathematics education, and I got enrolled in that program. And in that program, I got the opportunity to read Richard Skem's seminal paper on relational understanding and instrumental understanding. This is a paper that I think every teacher should read. It opens your eyes. And another experience was learning from Dr. Rapti de Silva. She is actually a senior lecturer from University of Moratuwa right here, and that's a picture taken right here in this university. She went for an early retirement. She's no longer working here. She taught the course Methodology of Teaching and Learning Mathematics, and she opened a new door. After going through all these experiences, I could see mathematics through a new lens. It was not just a subject to be delivered for me. I felt that it was an experience as a teacher that I needed to design for my students. So for the first time in my life, I felt this is what I need to do in my life. So at the age of 35, with more courage than money, I left for Simon Fraser University in Canada, and I completed my PhD in mathematics education, and that decision changed everything. So that's how I got into the field. So at the University of Sri Jayawardenepura Faculty of Technology, I teach mathematics to, this is my department, and a lot of the people you see in these pictures are in the audience. I teach mathematics to technology students. Technology stream students, when they come to our faculty, they don't come with a strong background in math. Majority of them fear mathematics. They don't have a lot of math in their advanced level technology stream. So my teaching to them is partly informed by research, some of which are of my own. And my teaching is greatly shaped by the changed view I have about mathematics, what mathematics is, and how mathematics must be taught. So in my teaching, I focus on connecting ideas. I focus on the humanness of mathematics. I value mistakes. I make my students part of everything that they learn, and I treat them as thinkers. So when students feel that they are learning with meaning, their fear slowly fades away. So now I would like to share a few pieces of evidence to demonstrate that mathematics can indeed be taught meaningfully, and that what I advocate is not merely, theoretical, but it is true, it can be done, it's doable. This is the first time I'm sharing what I'm sharing right now. I've not shown this to anyone except for my close, family and friends. And this is to, let me tell you that I'm showing this is to solely to illustrate my point, not for anything else. So I'm going to first show you some Zoom chat excerpts. I'm focusing on this part. This is during COVID when we were doing online lectures. These are spontaneous student, what they type in the chat. So I will not read it, I will let you read it. And during the same lesson, here's another part. So I'll take that part out. So that was during COVID, like in 2019 maybe. And I have an email here that came this year, last semester. I want to just focus. So this was written by an ICT student. I did not teach them that semester. So what happens is they go and watch my videos. Some of my videos are available online, not to the public. During COVID time, we have uploaded videos, so they get the links from senior students and they watch. So this email came to me at the end of that semester. He says, the way you express mathematical concepts have made a lasting impact on me. Watching your lectures was a roller coaster of emotions. He's talking about mathematics. You sparked curiosity, then moments of confusion, followed by the excitement of joy, finally understanding and me being on the correct track. It was a marvelous experience. What I wish to highlight is that when students are given the opportunity to learn mathematics meaningfully, when they truly understand the ideas behind the procedures that they learn, they not only perform better, they thrive. This is exactly what this student is saying. This is exactly the kind of learning experience that I envision for all of my students. But a single classroom is not enough. If you want to make a change, you have to do more than that. And so this is why, along with Dr. Shelton Pereira, Shelton sir, and with the support of the Ministry of Education, we started MetaHub, Sri Lanka's first online platform for mathematics teachers. And through MetaHub, we do videos called Math Lounge, where we address common misconceptions that teachers and students have. We have a teachers forum in the website where teachers can ask questions about the content and also about teaching math. And we conduct workshops, webinars, and various different programs for teachers. I have also worked on, I've been trying to popularize the field because it is still, now I think people know it when you say mathematics education. They know that we're talking about the name of a field, not just, the education of mathematics. So I've made efforts to popularize math ed through media. So I will just quickly, so this is just to show you that the efforts in popularization math ed, and through newspapers, and through what is called the Global Math Project. So since 2017, I've served as Sri Lanka's ambassador for the Global Math Project through a playful story called Exploding Dots. And we've been able to reach with limited people who's working on the field. We have successfully initiated and we've tried to sustain research efforts. So my research has been mainly focused on ways in which mathematics can be, ways in which teaching of mathematical concepts can be improved, both by strengthening the content knowledge and also subject-specific pedagogical knowledge of teachers. And these studies are not just abstract. They address the very struggles that teachers and students encounter daily, and they provide insights as to how we can shift from rote delivery to meaningful understanding. And in Sri Lanka, postgraduate studies in math ed is not very prevalent compared to other fields. But I acknowledge with gratitude and affection my postgraduate research students. This is Rovini Ratnayaka, my first MPhil student who I co-supervised with Dr. Shelton Pereira and now pursuing her PhD in Australia. And my master's students at the University of Peradeniya, Manjula Sagarika, and my current MPhil student Eranga. I hope Eranga is in the audience. Not sure. So what have I done through SLAAS in my field? So I was introduced to SLAAS by Professor Indika Wanyaracha and Professor Dulipa Pittigala in 2020. Since joining SLAAS in 2020, I have served towards its vision in different roles. As a committee member, secretary, vice president, and of Section 1 and various other roles. And we have been able to, through SLAAS, with the help of the Ministry of Education, we have organized provincial workshops throughout the island for combined mathematics teachers, and also for O-level mathematics teachers, and for advanced level science for technology teachers, and lecturers from National Colleges of Education, and also programs for students, especially this aligning with this year's theme of General President's theme, reaching underprivileged schools through science and technology, to help students see the beauty of mathematics. So what you see on screen right now, all these are activities that we've done through SLAAS Section E1 and Committee for Popularization of Science. So where do we go from here? I see 4 priorities for Sri Lanka. Number 1, our teaching has to be research informed in math ed. We have to move beyond traditional ways of teaching, teaching for understanding, teaching not only procedures but conceptually. Number 2, we need to build a professional community in mathematics education, people who can do research and who are interested in mathematics education to strengthen math ed in Sri Lanka. And public engagement, we have to reshape the narrative about mathematics that parents and students have, not seeing it as a boring or a dry subject, but to see mathematics as a possibility. And finally, as policy integration, mathematics education has to be embedded into the curricula, assessments and also teacher training programs widely. So in rethinking how we learn mathematics, I'm reminded that learning is always a collective effort. And I wish to honor, before I conclude my presentation, I wish to honor those who have been part of mine in this journey with SLAAS. There is a long list, but I have to cut it short due to time constraints. So I apologize if you don't see yourselves on the screen, and if I don't get to mention you. I'm talking about my SLAAS journey. So first, this wonderful team of Section E1 2025. This is a picture taken from the AGM last year. Dr. Janaka from University of Colombo, Engineer Gihan from NIBM, Dr. Sujeeva from University of Kelaniya, Dr. Sivaini from University of Jawadhanapura, Dr. Ashwini from University of Peradeniya, Dr. Thanuja and Dr. Monica from University of Colombo, and Dr. Rekha again from Peradeniya. We had 2 members from University of Peradeniya who attended meetings almost every month. I want to thank all of you for being a great team. And one person is missing. Where is he? Okay. So I did not forget you because you were not there for the picture. I'm sorry. But I could find one taken on the same day. That's my good friend, Dr. Rajita from University of Sri Jawadhanapura. Let me go back to this because I have to show you one person. In particular, Dr. Sivaini in the middle, my secretary, who was a wonderful person. Thank you, Sivaini, for your wonderful support throughout. Ooh. And some more pictures. We had fun, not just doing activities, we had a lot of fun, but not many pictures having fun. And I also want to acknowledge and remember other members of Section E1, past members. Professor Lakmal is there. You are a member of Section E1. And yeah, these are from previous years. And very especially, a very big, gigantic thank you to Professor Udeni Nagamur, who is the General President of SLAAS this year. This was a picture taken at his ceremonial induction. He is not just a leader, he's like a brother, he's a friend, he's a mentor. Thank you for your support. And many other friends I met through SLAAS. I thank you all for being great friends. Wonderful people, great human beings. Many of these people you see on the screen are in this audience. And these are all the sectional presidents this year. And not forgetting, my parents, my brother and sister, and my husband. And these pumpkins who are in the audience, my angel and my sunshine, who bring joy to me every day. And my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, I don't call them in-laws, they are my brother and sister. And yeah, so let me conclude. Before I conclude, if there is one thing I want you to take away from my speech today, it would be What do you think it would be? It would be the name Richard Skemp. And his distinction between two types of understanding of mathematics, procedural and conceptual, and the fact that we need to learn math in both of these ways. Richard Skemp passed away in 1995. And in 1995, I did not even know the existence of a field called mathematics education, but I was fortunate enough to meet his first PhD student, Professor David Tall, who is a pioneering figure in the field right now. This was taken in 2019. So this was the closest I got to Richard Skemp. So let me return to the beginning to close my presentation. What do you remember about learning mathematics in school? If it was fear or frustration or any such negative feeling is what you remember, then it did not have to be that way. With the right approaches, mathematics can be accessible, it can be meaningful, it can be joyful and beautiful. And my own journey from a child teaching imaginary student at the backyard to a PhD in Math Ed, to initiatives like MetaHub and the Global Math Project here in Sri Lanka, illustrates the transformative potential embedded in the field and within the field Math Ed. The famous mathematician Paul Lockhart once said that the art of doing mathematics is finding patterns and creating arguments, not memorizing rules. So as SLAAS members and as scientists and educators, our responsibility in the context of mathematics in the umbrella of Section E1 is clear. We must not see mathematics as a wall, but as a gateway to opportunity, to innovation, and to national progress. So as part of SLAAS, through the work of Section E1, let us build that gateway together with rigorous research, unwavering passion, and bold vision. Thank you, everyone.
What an excellent way to start the presidential addresses of the 81st annual sessions of SLAAS. Just to say how great this is, if you look at the number of slides on the bottom right corner, that says 117. Either we have missed a lot of interesting thoughts and slides were missed because we had a time constraint. But of course, the time was very well spent. Thank you very much for the very, very excellent presidential address.
Yeah, before awarding this, I will read out this. Certificate of Appreciation, Sri Lanka Association for the Advancement of Science, presented to Dr. Gaya Jayakody, Gaya Jayakody, in appreciation of the valuable contribution made as President Section E1 in the year 2025, 81st annual sessions, 7 to 12 December 25, signed by the General President, the two General Secretaries.